can stay out of trouble for 2 days.
I'm this close to doing a deal that's gonna bring me more money than you can imagine, and I ain't letting nothing mess it up.
Ex-con Jack Charles thought he could get away with anything.
You ever think we'd make a score like this, huh?
Until fate came knocking.
Hi, Daddy.
You got kids? We never did blood tests, but
We're going with you, Jack.
In your dreams, kid.
Now he's a wanted man
Radical, Dad!
don't call me that.
with some unwanted company.
Jack's hungry. Dad, I have to go to the bathroom.
I hate all this family crap.
Hollywood Pictures presents
Hit the road, Jack.
the story of a man who set out to become a crook
Don't you care about how we feel?
What have you two done to me?
and ended up
What do you got on that truck anyway?
My kids are on that truck.
Dad,
a father.
Dad!
So we having fun yet?
Yeah, Dad, for it! This is great, isn't it, Dad?
It's good life.
It's a good life.
The man has no idea how to raise children.
Patrick Swayze,
Yo,
Jack!
come on, let's go. Let's party.
fatherhood.
Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Hello, I'm Katie, and welcome to Retromade, your pop culture rewind. Today, we're going to go back to August of 1993 for the adventure comedy drama Fatherhood. And that's 2 words, fatherhood. And as always, we'll do a little pop culture rewind to get in the 90s frame of mind. And I'm very excited to have returning guest Lizzie with me back from the Retro Movie Roundtable podcast. She is a mother of 3 and a movie lover, particularly thrillers and comedy. Lizzie, thank you so much for joining me again.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. You have such a great memory. Yes, I love it.
Oh, listeners, Fatherhood. We have only this and then one more movie after this to complete season 1. And then I'll do a little retrospective before we head on to season 2, which will be, as a little hint, John Hughes movies. So that's something to look forward to coming soon in season 2. But first, let's open the time capsule for August of 1993. And we did already cover the TV for this period. So this would be the 93-94 season for prime time. And we covered what those were in the Tombstone episode because that came out in December. So go back and listen to the Tombstone episode if you have not already, or if you want the memories from TV of that time. But since we do this specific week when we're talking about music top billboards, this is different. It's very 1993, in my opinion. Lizzie, the first one, number 1 song for this week, August 27th, 1993, is Can't Help Falling in Love by UB40. Do you remember that one?
Okay, hold on. Can't help falling. The first thing that I thought of when you said Can't Help Falling in Love was Alicia Keys. I was like, no, that's 10 years later.
Yeah, that's way later. So it's got that islandy vibe.
Oh, okay. They did their own version of the Elvis Presley remake.
Yes,
right?
yes,
okay, I know
yes.
exactly what you're talking about now. Yes. It's almost
I
like
forgot.
like
That would have been a better
Field
hint. Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I know exactly what you're talking about. 100%. Yes.
Men say only fools rush in. Falling in love with you.
Well, I didn't know that it apparently was from the movie Sliver, that Sharon Stone,
Ooh.
Billy Baldwin thriller, but
Yes.
I guess it was. Oh my God, this is so junior high for me. Whoop, There It Is by Tag Team is the number 2 song.
So much. Yeah, every now and again you'll hear that in a commercial and it's just a huge throwback. But that was like exactly like middle school the cheerleaders would do those dances where like everything, there's like a big mashup of a bunch of different songs, those very 90s to do that. And Whoop There It Is was always on there. Like you could always guarantee that there was going to be a Whoop There It Is.
It is a terrible song. Like it's awful. I don't know. I think that's probably a one-hit wonder, or maybe they have one other song. But the next one, number 3, huge at this time, "Dream Lover" by Mariah Carey. This was like her time, right?
You're my destiny. Yeah, yes, very much. This was like her Honey era. I think this was Mariah Carey in her prime, like 100%, like the Tommy Mottola days.
Yes.
That was
like her hair, like the tight curly hair still, like very like natural looking sort of, like different Mariah Carey than we have
100%.
now.
I agree with that.
Now, I was never like, I know of Jodeci, and I even, I like R&B, but I don't know. I've never been like really into Jodeci, and I looked up the song and I wasn't familiar with it. The number 4 song is "Lately" by Jodeci.
That does not ring a bell for me.
Yeah. But I bet you know the number 5 song by Soul Asylum, "Runaway Train," with that video of all the lost kids, like the runaways.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Their music video, it was like, "Runaway train never coming back."
Yes, yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, that's so crazy. And then it's so funny how like its music is so cyclical, because then maybe 10 years after that, I think Ludacris did his own version of that. But yes, I remember that one for sure.
Did he? I don't think I remember that. But I seem to recall hearing not that long ago that they like re-released that song and updated the video with new missing, like new kids or,
Aww.
I don't know. So they're really trying to help find,
Yeah. Oh man.
That was good. And then I think I recall the next one from Benny and June. The Proclaimers is the name of the group. And it's number 6 is "I'm Gonna Be," but it's that 500 Miles song.
When I go out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be. Yeah, I know exactly. Yes.
Would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be a man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door.
Yep. And that's like an earworm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. That's one of those songs that really gets stuck in your head. And that's another one that I think has kind of held up because that they play it in commercials every now and again.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what their ethnicity is. It doesn't sound American. I don't know if they're like Irish or something like.
Yeah. Something like it very like, I can't put my finger.
Okay.
I think that they're like a Scot or if it's an Irish, but definitely like some kind of like
there's an
some
accent.
Western European, but also potentially like Scandinavian. Who really knows? But definitely not American.
This was also the era of Janet Jackson, and she has the number 7 song this week, and it's "If." And at first I was like, what song is that? So I looked it up, and it's "If I were your girl, the things I'd do to you, but I'm not, so I can't and I won't." That one,
I love her so much. We saw her in concert maybe 6 or 7 years ago. She was doing like a revival tour. Oh my gosh. And she still got it. She was just so much fun. And, she closed with the Rhythm Nation. It was so much fun. It was a blast. But you could tell she was just having a good time.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah.
I also remember being so jealous of her abs. And this video is her, she's got like a cropped shirt on and her abs. She's like the queen of abs.
Yes.
Miss Jackson.
Love her.
Number 8 song is "Slam, dun, 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 Let the Boys Be Boys" by Onyx. I didn't recall the artist or the group. I guess it's a group. There's several guys in it.
It's like another sports song. You just hear it at like football games, basketball games, whatever.
And also maybe a one-hit wonder. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they have a following, but maybe that's the only song I know.
No, I'm not familiar with anything else that they've done.
Number 9 is If I Had No Loot by Tony, which the name of the song I didn't, you know the song, I have a feeling. Do you know
Okay.
it?
I know. I don't
How
know.
did it-
I'd have to hear it. I will have friends of mine ask if I know a song because I'm so bad at like song names or the
Same.
actual names of the artist. But once I hear a little bit of the song, then immediately like the memory gets jogged and we're good to go. So I imagine that this falls into that category.
Same. Then we have SWV with Weak, rounding out the top 10. And I'm sure you know that one. I get so weak in the knees.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, every time. Oh yes. Okay. Man, this is like a huge flashback because I was only 5 when all this came out. I'm an 88 baby. So
Okay.
but a lot of these carried into like my middle school and high school life.
Mhm. You make me feel very old, Lizzie.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, news and events from August of 1993. Are you or were you a baseball fan?
So unfortunately, I would say no. My son, my oldest, plays baseball, so I feel like now I am, but I couldn't really tell you a lot of facts about baseball, unfortunately.
Oh, me neither. But I know certain names, like people that are famous enough to break
Yeah.
into regular culture. So Reggie Jackson, I'm sure you've heard of him.
Yes.
He apparently is the 14-time MLB All-Star, and he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in August. And then the Yankees, he must have played for the Yankees because they retired his uniform number 44 and deemed August 14th Reggie Jackson Day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
So all of you baseball fans out there are probably screaming at me for not knowing these things, but oh my gosh, do you remember I remember the movie more so than hearing about this in on the news because I was like 12 at the time. So Rwandan Hutus and Tutsis sign a peace treaty in Arusha, Tanzania. I remember watching, is it Hotel Rwanda?
Yes,
Is how I
yes.
learned about this conflict.
Name. Yes. I had no idea about that conflict until I saw that movie. It was
Same.
like I felt so ignorant being like I had no idea that there was a conflict there or anything. And I mean, granted, I was really young, as were you. You know, when you're a child, like you're just not abreast to that kind of stuff. But I remember watching Hotel Rwanda and then finding out that all of that was real. It was wild.
It is wild. So that happened. Thankfully, this is happy news. They signed a peace treaty in August of 93. So it was in Tanzania, in Arusha. And I've actually been to Arusha, Tanzania.
Right. So
So
cool.
I would like to go back. Also, I didn't realize Ruth Bader Ginsburg was sworn in as a U.S. Supreme Court Justice in 93.
Oh my gosh.
I guess that was 31 years ago. But I
For
guess that
some-
I thought it was like before then.
I
some reason.
imagine so too. I think it's because 30 years is an amazing career to have in any field, but because, and absolutely no shade to her, may she rest in peace, but she was really up there in her age. So I just imagined that was a position that she had held for a lot longer.
Same.
But it's nice to know, and she did it. She did a lot for women.
Indeed. Yeah. Like she's like iconic for women in the women's rights world. Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes,
I
her
like
name.
the notorious RBG. Like instead of the Big E t-shirt, it's
Yeah.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I love that.
Yeah. One of my friends gifted my daughter Conley with this like little book. It's like ABCs of really special women that have, been super impactful for women's history. And so of course, like the R is Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but that's the only one she's ever memorized. I think it's just because it's such like a whimsical sounding name, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It just kind of rolls right off your tongue a little bit. So we love her in this house.
As do I. And what a cool book for your daughter.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Mattel and Fisher Price merged, but they did at this time.
You know what? I guess I never thought about that. That's true. Because Mattel is just like the Barbies. Like whenever you think of Mattel, like the two of are just super synonymous. But then Fisher Price was more of like, when I think of it now, I think of like toddler toys. But it makes complete sense that they would merge together, just, you know, being in the same vertical market.
Actress Kim Basinger weds Alec Baldwin at this
man.
time. They were like a power Hollywood couple, weren't they?
They lasted a while, didn't they?
Until 2002 is when they divorced.
Not quite as long as I thought. I thought maybe they lasted a little bit longer than that.
I mean,
but
it's for Hollywood.
still for
kind of long.
Hollywood.
Yeah,
For Hollywood,
mhm.
yes, you're right.
Death. I usually talk about some deaths, unfortunately. And I didn't really know who this person was, but Charles Scorsese passed away at the age of 80. And yes, he is Martin's father.
Yes. Okay.
And I guess he was also an actor, and he had very small roles in a ton of very famous movies. For example, Cape Fear, Goodfellas, and Wise Guys.
Okay.
Just usually very small bit parts, but he was in quite a few movies. Charles Scorsese.
Wow. Very cool.
Now, Fatherhood did not top the box office at this time, but a few movies that did. This is so 93. The Fugitive,
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Rising Sun, Free Willy. Oh, I loved that movie.
Oh my gosh. I'm actually really pushing my oldest to watch it. He'll be 9 in January. And I'm like, you're at the perfect age for Free Willy. We just haven't pulled the trigger on him. We watched the trailer together. Oh my gosh, that movie is classic.
It is. If you want to cry, push your kid to watch it. Also, Jurassic Park.
Oh my gosh. That's another one that I have to mention because my middle child, Monroe, he is 4. And I have never met a human being that is more infatuated with Jurassic Park than my 4-year-old son. We let him watch it, but we cut through like the very, very beginning. And then because that very initial scene is kind of scary. And then, of course, if you know, the part with the lawyer. And
Yep.
that's just a little too much. But other than that, it's really not that bad. It's just more suspenseful. And he asks for it every day and has for a year and a half. He's obsessed. He really likes it. At this one, I could quote it.
Oh my God, that's a lot. I feel bad for you. So is he super into dinosaurs generally?
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, that's what really got us into it. And I was just like, at first, I thought I would show him just like a couple random scenes. So it started with Bronchiosaurus scene in the very, very beginning. And then it was like we put our toe in and then eventually we just watched the entire thing. And my dad, when we were kids, because Jurassic Park was a big deal for us when we were kids, and my dad put lyrics to the song. So then it was like, we will welcome you to Jurassic Park, where the dinosaurs all play in the dark. And so we just started, that was like our thing in our childhood. And so if we passed it down to like now my kids sing it and it's literally every day. I mean, we have purchased the entire collection of Jurassic Park so we can at least volley from movie to movie, but I could really quote them at this point.
So that's his Rocky. Rocky is my movie like that.
Yes.
And like all the movies I know them all very well. But every day's a lot, but that's cute. I like it.
Yeah, the entire movie. We don't watch
Pieces.
a full movie every day, to be clear, but we'll just watch like little snippets. Like his favorite thing is he'll ask for the raptors in the kitchen. That's like his, or we'll just fast forward it to the last 15 minutes of the movie and just kind of watch it while like I brush my teeth. And
Interesting that he likes that scene.
he really likes the raptors in the kitchen. I think he's too young to understand
Why
that
it's scary.
actually like kind of freaky. But I think it's because nobody actually ends up getting hurt. He just
True.
is focusing on the raptors just kind of talking with each other and running and chasing. And I think it's just seeing them together just gets him all excited, watching them work each other out. I don't know. But one of these days we'll deconstruct it. Either he'll appreciate that we leaned into his love of dinosaurs or he'll talk about it with his therapist. One or the other. We'll figure. Maybe both.
Maybe. Maybe both. There are worse things in the world.
That's right.
Also, Robin Hood Men in Tights, like the parody version.
Good movie. Well,
In the Line of Fire, Sleepless in Seattle, The Firm, Hard Target, and The Secret Garden. Those are the. Mhm.
people don't talk about The Firm enough. That's a good movie. It's really, really thrilling. Oh my gosh. And Secret Garden is just, I mean, that's like one of those movies. I'm just waiting until my daughter is old enough to be able to appreciate it. It's just has such a chokehold.
Mhm.
Those are it was a good year for movies.
It really was. I feel like, well, I say the 80s, but the 90s, like the early 90s are pretty good. Early to mid 90s, it's pretty solid for movies too. Speaking of movies, should we get into fatherhood?
Let's do it.
All right. August 27th, 1993. It's PG-13. 4.9 out of 10 on IMDb, which is probably one of the lower ones that we've covered on Retromade, which is interesting. We'll get to that. Director, do you know who Daryl Root is?
I don't know.
Well, you're probably not alone. He's South African.
Okay.
And he's most known for South African films. I guess a very famous one is Yesterday. It's famous in South Africa.
Okay.
But he also directed the 1992 movie Serafina with Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So he's got some filmography then. Yeah.
He does. The writer is Scott Spencer, who is most known for writing the 1981 novel Endless Love.
Ooh,
Other than that, not super well known.
okay. Cool. That's interesting to know. This was a new movie for me. And so I'm not surprised that the director and the writers were kind of like unknown just because this was a movie. I'm a Swayze fan big time. So I was actually surprised that he was in a movie that I hadn't heard of before.
Oh, you'd not even heard of it?
Never even heard of it. No, I knew that there recently had been a Kevin Hart movie that has come out by the same name. So when I started searching, that was always what came up. But no, I had never even heard of this one. This one flew right under my nose.
There have been a few on the show this season that I think a lot of people are like, wow, didn't know about that one. This one, I'm aware of it, and I think I maybe have seen it or parts of it, but in 1993. So it was like watching it new again. But I definitely knew of it and that it wasn't like one of his popular ones. The composer, his name's Patrick O'Hearn. And he's not really known for doing a lot of like movies. Like some people are known for composing scores and things like that. He's known primarily as the bass guitarist and keyboardist. Came to prominence with Frank Zappa and co-founded the early 1980s new wave band Missing Persons with several other veterans from Zappa's band. So that's who he is.
Very cool.
We do have our Patrick Swayze, and he plays our main character, Jack Charles. This is actually the third film where he played a character named Jack. Do you know the other two?
Okay, hold on. Let me think about this.
Probably not.
I don't think so. No, I'm drawing a blank. In my mind, I'm going through all of his other characters. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Well, the other two are also lesser known Swayze movies. Black Dog from 1998.
Okay. I haven't heard of that one either.
3 Wishes from 1995.
3 Wishes. Oh my gosh, I haven't heard of that one either.
I actually think you're like, since you have kids, you should check out 3 Wishes. I think you watch it with your family.
Okay,
It's like a fantasy. It's pretty cute. I don't even like that kind of a movie, and I don't really like kid movies, but I did really quite like 3 Wishes. So I would recommend it to you, Lucine.
Okay, well, we will give it a shot then. I love that.
And then this one, Fatherhood. Now, we could cheat and say Johnny Castle in Dirty Dancing, because isn't Jack a nickname for John, which is weird in and of itself, but that would be cheating.
Yes, I think so. Because, Johnny is like, I feel like there's Johns and then there's Johnnies. You know, if that makes sense. Kind of in the same way.
Yes.
There's a Tom and there's a Thomas. There's a certain
And a
personality.
Tommy.
And a Tommy.
And they're different.
Better. Yes. There's just something to be said about like a good, like my dad, for example, his real name is actually Johnny, not John, Johnny, but his middle name is Michael. And that's what he goes by. He's a Michael. Like he is not a Johnny.
And not even a Mike, but a Michael.
He's a Michael. He is a Michael through and through. I think that he has an earnestness to him that just makes him a Michael. He's like loving and wonderful and such a great dad. But I think he has this very just this kind of serious, at least growing up, he had this very serious side of him where he was just very earnest and very logical and pragmatic. And I think that just made him a Michael. I think to me, a Johnny feels like a slightly bad boy.
Yes.
Kind of like wrong side of the tracks.
Well, Johnny Castle from Dirty Dancing.
That's right. And if my dad was nothing but in terms of his moral fiber was very much on the right side of the tracks. It was not a Johnny.
I love that. Good story. That is interesting, though, that his actual name is Johnny.
Yes, very rare. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Were you surprised to see Miss Halle Berry in this?
I was shocked. I did not look at the cast beforehand. I knew Patrick Swayze was in it, of course, and then I saw the cover, and it has like the two actors that play his children. And I recognized her voice before because the first shot of her is actually slightly far away. So I wasn't able to 100% because she's such a recognizable face. And she has that very famous Halle Berry bowl cut that she had in
short
the
hair.
90s. That short hair, but like pixie type of cut. But still, I was not 100% convinced it was her until she opened her mouth. I'm like, that's because she's also has this very distinct, she's very soft-spoken. And I was very surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, so we talked about Halle Berry in another Retromade episode, Executive Decision. She's also in that with Kurt Russell. Yeah, so in this, she plays a woman named Kathleen Mercer, and she's a reporter. And it's interesting because Jack assumes, maybe because of her name, that she is Irish.
Yes.
And she's not. Yeah, and so to your point about the kids that are on the cover, there's a girl about age 12 and a boy, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8, Kelly and Eddie Charles. Kelly is played by Sabrina Lloyd, and she's been in things, a lot of TV series, but not ones I've seen, but ones I've heard of. Numbers, Sports Night, and Sliders. So I think those are when, once she grew up, I think those were what she's been in. And then did you recognize who the son was? Brian, his name in real life is Brian Bonsall.
Okay. No, I didn't recognize him.
He did you watch Family Ties? Because that's the show he was on. He plays the fourth kid.
Not religiously. I'm used to, like, I've seen like episodes here and there, but I was more of a Full House person.
Yeah, Family Ties was before your time.
Yes.
For sure. But yeah, so you know how at that time in the 80s, they would, after a few seasons in the show, like to boost ratings, they'd bring in like another kid. They'd have a baby or bring in another kid, or that baby in last season is now 7 or something. Well, Family Ties did that, and his name was Andy on Family Ties. So that's who the kid playing Eddie is. Michael Ironside is also in this, and he has almost 300 acting credits. He's like one of those guys, including Top Gun, Total Recall, and Starship Troopers. Who he plays in Fatherhood is Jack's like partner in crime, would you say? Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry is his name in the movie. I thought he was going to be in it more based on where he was listed in the credits, but he's hardly in it.
Agreed. No, he's like, it's like a blink and you miss him, quite literally. Yes.
Diane Ladd, not related to Cheryl, but she does have some famous family. Do you know who Diane Ladd is? She played Rita, Jack's mother in this.
No, but she looked familiar to me. Yes, but no, I wasn't able to pinpoint her.
She's kind of that old world Hollywood. She comes from that era. She was actually nominated for 3 Oscars. In 1975 for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, in 1991 for Wild at Heart, and in 1992 for Rambling Rose. She's also known for, she was in Chinatown, very famous movie, and she plays Nora Griswold, the grandma, one of the grandmas in Christmas Vacation.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. That's really funny. I never put 2 and 2 together. Okay, well then obviously I've seen enough of her to at least understand why she looked familiar.
Mm-hmm. She is also Laura Dern's mother. She was married to Bruce Dern.
Jurassic Park. That's
yes. Yeah, good point. Good point. And, you know, according to the internet, she's the cousin of the playwright Tennessee Williams. So she's got lots of famous
connected.
family.
Yeah, she's got connections.
A couple other people in the cast. We have Bob Gunton, who plays this guy named Lazaro, and he is like the director of this shady foster care, like home for children. Mm-hmm. Did he look familiar to you?
Yes, he is in a silly, scary movie that my husband and I love called Dead Silence. It's like,
I've not seen that.
It's if you are not into horror movies, then it's not for you because it's not
for me then.
Yeah, it's not it's not even that it's scary. It's just incredibly campy. So,
well, I kind of like that. That's kind of fun sometimes.
You know, some people like the camp, some people hate it. It's just honestly, it's just personal preference. But they're definitely scary. Like Donnie Wahlberg's in it. It's just like a silly movie that has this like lore of this ventriloquist, and the main protagonist goes to ask his dad for help, and his dad is played by Lazaro, and he has this also very distinctive voice. He's so much younger because this movie probably came out in 2012, 13, 14, something like that. So seeing him a lot younger was very cool.
I bet nobody knows that name, Bob Gunton, the actor's name. I mean, if you do, you're like a really big movie person, perhaps. But he is most known for playing the prison warden in Shawshank Redemption.
Actually, never. But you're so right. The second that you said warden, it all clicked for me because you are so right. I can hear him right now asking for his books to be cooked.
And his glasses, yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, with Andy Dufresne. That I never put 2 and 2 together. That's brilliant. I love that.
We also get Adrienne Barbeau. I also thought she was going to be in this longer or for more, but she was in like one quick scene. She plays Celeste, a psychic reader, which that scene was strange in and of itself. Like it didn't need to be in the movie at all. Like I don't know why it was there to give Adrienne Barbeau a part. Maybe I don't know.
It happened a lot, I think, where I was like, "Where's this going?" And then it just didn't end up going anywhere. So I think that was just perhaps something that they wanted to put in there, but never brought it home.
Yeah, you're right. There were several instances of that, which we will get into. But Adrienne Barbeau, we did talk about her because she was in Escape from New York with Kurt, 1981.
Nice.
And then we get a young Josh Lucas, the boy that Kelly likes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That is so crazy. I didn't put 2 and 2 together with that one. That's wild. I'm going to have to go back and look at that one scene because he's in it for a second.
Well, she has a picture of him earlier in the movie, and then he's in one scene in New Orleans when she meets up, and he's like, "Oh, I was just trying to be nice." Anyway, I knew he was in this, so I was looking for him. And so when we see a picture of him, I'm like, "Oh, that's Josh Lucas." Yeah, and he has a distinct voice as well.
Very much so. Yes. He's in some of my favorites.
Same. This movie did not win any awards. And I couldn't find what the budget was, but it grossed $3.4 million. So not a hit, shall we say. Oh, I forgot to tell you all, because I have a feeling a lot of you have not seen this, or if it's been 30 years, Fatherhood is the adventures of a deadbeat dad who kidnaps his kids from the bus. based on the true life stories and experiences of Michael J. Hardy. It's kind of fun to know it was based on like a real person.
That's wild. Yes, it's really crazy.
What did you, so you'd not seen this movie.
Mhm.
What, did you have any expectations going into it? Did you like, how did it live up? What do you think overall?
So as I said before, I'm a Patrick Swayze fan. So it's really, really hard for you to put a movie in front of me where I'm getting 90 solid minutes of Patrick Swayze and be mad about it. Because he has this, what's the word? He's just so vivacious and just his personality just like bursts out of his pores. It's just, there's something about him that is so magnanimous that like he just has this X factor that it almost doesn't really matter what he's doing or what he's saying. He's saying it with such conviction and doing it with such conviction that it just like, I'm connected. So that being said, I mean, it's really hard. I don't think that you could ever give me a Patrick Swayze movie that I'm going to look at and be like, this is trash. Because I just am going to have fun watching him be Patrick Swayze. I think that being said, the best way that I can describe this movie is I think this movie had an idea of what it wanted to be, and then unfortunately just wasn't really able to get there. It's like they had kind of the way that I felt when the movie was over is if my husband Aaron were to take me out to a really, really fancy restaurant and then I were to order like a ribeye steak, but then be told that it doesn't come with any sides. And then they just serve me my steak and I'd be like, but this isn't a meal. I need a meal. This isn't enough. I'm going to need some pommes frites or maybe a salad, just like something so that I feel like this is a completed meal, not just an entree. And I think that is kind of how I felt about this movie a little bit. It felt like it really had big ideas of where it wanted to go, but it ended up taking kind of these little kind of subplots of what it wanted to be, and they didn't marry them together with enough substance to make me feel like I really understood what I just watched.
Really well put. That is like a very brilliant analogy about the steak but no sides. It's not a complete meal, and like ideas, and it didn't fully get baked, to use yet another food analogy. Yeah, that very well put. I don't think I could find words better. I felt like it was, it was very predictable. You knew exactly, when he's annoyed by his kids and they're super annoying him, and then don't quit calling me your father. I'm not your father. Don't call me that. And it's a road trip movie. So you're like, okay, by the end of this, they're going to have bonded and yada, yada. But, he ultimately becomes like a lovable dad. And we knew that was going to happen. But yeah, I guess I still found it enjoyable enough. I mean, partly to your point about Patrick Swayze, I think everybody does a good job in it. I think everybody it was well acted, but there were just some things missing, I think. In fatherhood, in a rom-com, I feel like there's a really great formula in any kind of like any romantic comedy where it's, and of course there's all different like subplots that can happen in a romantic comedy, but kind of like the most common one is you have two people that like don't really like each other, and then eventually they end up at the end of the movie they fall in love. In the middle of the movie, there always has to be that moment when the switch flips where you watch, they have an encounter with each other that allows them to see each other in a different light. And then from then on, you're watching their wheels slowly turn and realize, wait, this might actually be somebody that not only can I tolerate them, but I actually like them. And now I feel like I love them. And even if it's a very short movie, I think that part potentially was lacking. It felt like the switch got flipped without us really being able to watch it happen. And I think that as like Patrick Swayze kind of went from,
just like screaming at the kids and, fighting on the payphone and letting the car drive off. And then eventually, just only a few scenes later after the final kind of big shootout, and he ends up, he has this kind of crisis of conscience of not wanting to take it too far because of the children's presence. And then he's in court crying about how much he loves his kids. And I feel like in my mind, I'm like, I feel like the dots weren't connected quite enough for me. I think if they had been, I think that the movie would have felt more like that bold meal. I think that that's perhaps because the acting was fantastic, not just from Patrick Swayze, but from the kids. Like the kids were really able to emote, which is hard for anybody, but especially like little kids that, for them to be able to take direction like that. And Halle Berry, you can tell she feels very passionately that there's a story there and that she has the ability to affect change for this family. And I mean, it's really all there. I think that there's just this tweak in writing a little bit of maybe if you just added like one moment. A great example would have been when she goes and meets up with with Josh Lucas's character, and they have that little encounter, and he walks up and says something to the effect of like, "Do you want me to beat this guy up for you?" And I had thought, okay, this is the direction that this movie's going in right now. They're going to have like an Uncle Buck moment. That's what's going to happen, where it's going to be like the bug and the golf club with John Candy. And that is going to bond them. If this guy's going to turn out to be a gigantic jerk and Patrick Swayze is going to, do something to scare him straight, and they're going to bond over that. And then maybe something small is going to happen with the little boy. And I just think that had that been added in there, I think that switch when he got into the courtroom probably would have tracked a little bit more.
That's a good point. So I think we were supposed to see it gradually a little bit, but I like your idea of the switch. And I did think there were two small instances of it, but maybe it did need to be a little more. To your point about he witnesses his daughter, it's her first crush, and her heart's broken a little bit. And we see, he recognizes that and feels for her and does kind of try and be fatherly for her. That was his little moment with her. And with the kid or the boy, the boys, but he's like, oh, can we please? I want to go to, what was it? Hoover Dam. I really want to go to the Hoover. Like he keeps bugging him about doing stuff. And Patrick Swayze's character is very annoyed the whole time. And then later when they're driving the boat that they stowed away in, and then the boat got launched into the water and he steals the boat, and now they're driving the boat. And the kid asks if he can steer, and Jack, his initial immediate response, knee-jerk response is, yell at him or tell him no, but he stops himself.
That's true. You're right.
And he says, yeah, sure, go ahead, kid, whatever he says. But so there were a few small moments, but I agree. It could have been flushed out a little bit more. And then the bookends at the beginning and the end weren't well executed, in my opinion. Well, firstly, okay, listeners, so we open with the kids and Halle Berry. We don't know who they are yet, waiting outside of a prison. It's like release day. So they're waiting for their guy to be released. It's like a voiceover by the daughter saying, it wasn't always like this. He used to be kind of a deadbeat, whatever. And Jack comes out looking smoking. Those jeans in that scene. The rest of the movie, less so, because we'll get into his look the rest of the movie. Yeah. But the beginning and the ending scene when he's just in regular jeans and a t-shirt and he's got normal hair, he looks so good in those jeans. Yeah. It's like, yes. Well, that's like a very quick, like they're waiting for him. He comes out of the prison. They run to him in this embrace and he like swings them around. And then it's like a slow-mo cut to 2 years ago.
Yes.
And the rest of the movie happens 2 years ago, leading up to when he gets arrested and put in jail for 2 years. And then we end the movie with that bookend. Now we're coming full circle back. And it ended very abruptly, I thought.
Yes. Yeah. They're just like, it made the the hug kind of turned slow motion slightly, and then it just credits. So I was just over. Yeah.
Yeah, no title card with, here's what they went on to do. Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
That needed something extra as well. I didn't think that was executed well. But so for the majority of the movie, it's this road trip cross country movie. They're on the run from the police because Patrick Swayze, he's like a petty small time criminal, like very, the shirts that he wears, and he has that like old kind of low-level Vegas mobster look to him with his slick back hair. I don't know. How would you describe his look for the main portion of the movie?
So for me, I feel like Patrick Swayze is just one of those actors where he's played such notable roles that he almost kind of has that "Who is your Batman" kind of role of what is your version of Patrick Swayze. My version is always just going to be Johnny, like from Dirty Dancing. That was my first introduction to Patrick Swayze, and it still to this day is my favorite movie of his. So it's always going to be mine. Similar look and kind of like on paper together, but I think the difference between Johnny and Jack is that Jack is like sloppier. Like that's kind of like the best way to put it. Is like Johnny is like, because it's like the t-shirt and the jeans, like very simple, but with Johnny's look, it's, he's this guy that is, a really like good-hearted guy that's just kind of trying to get by in this like group of like really upper crust fancy people. Whereas I think Jack is like, you can get a feel. I feel like the best time where I got a feel of his personality was when earlier on in the movie, when he kind of fakes his death by stealing the car and then driving it off, and when his son is crying because he thinks that his son actually thought that was like real, and he's like such a grown boy where he's like, stop crying, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. What are you talking about? That's so neat. And I think his look is very like a very on the nose of Patrick Swayze, but just with an element of sloppiness. Like that's just kind of the best way I guess I can describe it.
I like that. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of not Donnie Brasco's look, but the idea of that he's like a dime store version of a criminal in Vegas or something. It's like it's cheap and it's clear that he's just kind of been this hustler his whole life.
Yes.
And he was, and we meet his mom, and you see that it runs in the family. So I'm going all over the place with this movie a little bit, but we don't really know what happened, but he's not been in his kids' lives. Their mother passed away, and so they're wards of the state in this really crappy, abusive, I don't know, what was the name of it? Something Hall. It's like a home for kids.
It starts with a B. Bigelow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I guess the whole thing is like kind of unclear where the boy is living. The girl runs away from Bigelow Hall she knows her dad's like back in town. And then they kind of force him to take them with him on the road because they start in LA. So we start in LA and we are supposed to end up in New Orleans because he's got this big deal with his like con man partner, Jerry. For $250,000, they're going to steal from a drug dealer. And that's how he got in trouble in the first place, that he stole from a drug dealer. But turns out it was an undercover cop. So he's running from the law. And now they think that he's kidnapped these kids because A, they're not, he doesn't have custody of them. B, he's a criminal. And so we get all these hijinks on the road at all of these different destinations. And it's kind of fun. So that's why it's like a comedy, but it's also a drama. It's also an adventure.
Yes.
Kind of all rolled into one. So, they claim that they put handcuffs on us here. And Lazaro is like, oh, that's ridiculous. But then there's a scene of them out in broad daylight in public with like all the kids outside of a bus in handcuffs. I don't know why that really stuck out to me, because I was like, they're not trying to hide it at all then.
Yes, right. He's just like openly lying because he's not even trying to cover it up at this point. So then it makes you feel like later, I imagine that they did that so that later there was no plausible deniability that something, because I think a big part of Lazaro's kind of downfall is it starts with the handcuffs, but what later the reporter, what Halle Berry's character reveals is that there's some kind of like sexual abuse happening between Kelly and somebody. And so when he starts denying that, I think that they do that immediately to just discredit his character entirely, so that when those claims start coming up, it's like you just know 100% that whatever he's going to say is like just untrue. I have to imagine that that's why that was intentional.
You're right. It was for our benefit. But I guess logistically, I'm like, if you're him, why would you so blatantly, if you're trying to cover up the fact that your system is corrupt. Yeah. And it was, he's been stealing money, claiming that they're going on all these field trips and getting steak dinners when they're not. So he and his people are just pocketing it. And how convenient that Halle Berry's character just so happens to be working on trying to uncover this scheme. Yeah. That was another thing too, that I don't know if I have higher expectations of movies now, or if back in the day they were like, it doesn't really matter, just go with it. But it was very convenient that his kids are in this foster care system. He calls her because he sees a newspaper article written by her that he doesn't like. She exaggerated his criminality or something like that. So he starts calling her. What's her name again? Kathleen. She does not look like a Kathleen. On payphones, mind you.
That's right.
At the different stops, which there's a plot line that couldn't happen in a modern movie. And again, like hijink, things happen because of that. He's still on the phone when the boat leaves the gas station that they're at. So they see a truck with this boat that happens to have a lower cabin with food and drinks and a place to sleep. So they stow away on that, which I thought that was cute and fun. But the kids are in that while he is making a call, and it leaves without him.
Right. Yeah.
So we have to
be able to do that today.
No. And so we get a pretty action-heavy sequence of him like on top of another truck. He convinces somebody to chase after it on another truck, and he jumps from that truck back onto the boat without anybody realizing. So there's that also. I really liked the grandma. I loved meeting her in Vegas, old Vegas.
That's right. Yes.
Old Vegas. And she's running a scam. And then we come back to her house and realize, she's got all these disguises and wigs. And so I liked that touch, that we're like, oh, that's why he is who he is, because this is who his mother is.
And tries leaving the kids with her. And she's like, no. I actually wish that there would have been more of a plot for her. I really liked her role. And that's originally what I thought was going to happen. You kind of wait for the other shoe to drop to be like, this is what this movie is about. And I had that moment when they met each other of being like, she's going to teach him how to be a better dad. And in doing so, she'll also learn how to maybe be where she could have potentially been a more present mom, and they'll all have this like great like generational bonding experience. And I kind of wish that would have been there, but that's just my own selfish desire to just see more of her because I liked her.
It was a fun character. I agree. There was a perfect opportunity for that, exactly what you wanted to happen at the end.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, to have her be there when like it could have been a surprise too, where like you only saw the kids in the first sequence, and then at the very end just have her kind of just like off to the side. You just be like out of the initial shot, but then when they pan out, you realize she's there, and it's a whole family affair or something. And it would have been really cute.
Yeah, because she clearly wasn't probably the best mother to Jack. And so, like this experience. And well, I was almost screaming at the TV at the end. So again, listeners, this is how I roll on Retromade. I'm all over the place with this episode. Doesn't matter. You probably haven't seen it. Watch it though. I think you'll be happy that you watched it. But okay, so at the end of their road trip, and he has to face the music. He's in court. He finally meets Kathleen, who he's only had some phone conversations with. Finally meets her, and he's like, "Oh, you're not Irish." And she's like, "No." He assumed that, and she just never corrected him. Then he has this tearful speech about how he never wanted to be their dad, but now he doesn't want anything more than that, and he loves them, et cetera, et cetera. Well, also in doing so, he has incriminated this Bigelow Hall and the corruption scheme with Lazaro, that the kids are being abused, et cetera, et cetera. So this has all come out. Now he's led away in cuffs because he has to serve this. There was a deal made, 2-year sentence, right? And he says to Kathleen, who, again, he's talked to on the phone a few times, I need you to, watch out for the kids, look in after them and from time to time. And then we're like, oh, she must have, I guess, because she was at, 2 years later, she's there with them to see him come out of jail. So we could have also gotten, okay, so they're in a relationship now is sort of what we could have gotten as well. Like,
yes,
over this 2 years, she's come to visit. They could have kissed and they're a whole big happy family now. That could have been cheesy. But where I'm going with this is their mother is dead. They've been in foster care this whole time. What's happening to the kids for these 2 years?
Where are they going? Right. Is Kathleen like their new surrogate mother? What is happening? They never talk about it. You could have, and all it would have really taken would have been like his mother to show up in court and to just make a comment of being like, come on, kids, you're going to come home with grandma. Like just something like that. And then it would have totally filled that hole, and then given reason for her to be at the prison for the day of his release. So yes, I feel like that was a major hole. These poor children have been through so much.
It's like, well, they can't go back to that shitty foster place. Like,
no.
Or what else? Yeah, that was just that drop. They just completely dropped that. Yes. It could have, that's exactly where the grandma could have come in. And then it would have made sense because he says to Kathleen, Halle Berry, he doesn't say, I mean, it would have been crazy for her to take on these kids. She doesn't even know them, really.
No, not at all.
But he does. Yeah. He does say, well, look in after them from time to time. And she says she will. So that makes sense. So that tells us as the audience, she's not taking custody of them. So he's let off in handcuffs and the kids are just like sitting like, yeah, where are these kids going? Grandma needs to come. Yeah. I don't know. I really, for some reason, had a problem with that. They really left us hanging with that.
Yes. Yeah, they really did. I think that was, they had a lot of opportunity there. I think really, because I mean, the reality is like we can always just suspend our disbelief in movies like this. So it's ultimately not a huge deal. But they missed a really awesome opportunity to kind of fuel the human interest side of the story and just make you, because ultimately this was meant to be, I think, like a heartwarming movie. There's obviously the car chases and the big exciting moments and the shootouts and all the things, but at the end of the day, like, it's really supposed to be about him having a transformation and like a real change of heart. So like they had a really awesome opportunity that I think they missed out on.
It could have been a family version of Thelma and Louise, but it wasn't.
Yes.
Speaking of the road trip aspect of this, though, what did you think of all of the scenery and the different locales that they shot? Did you take note of any of them?
Yes. So Old Vegas was definitely one of them. I have been over on the Old Vegas side, but not at night. That's something like I wish that I've been to Old Vegas during the day. But then, of course, like New Orleans, I feel like they went to these places that felt like they didn't need a set or anything. It's just like because Vegas, New Orleans, places like that, they just have like personality in themselves. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I think that they chose the right places to just have a lot of noise and a lot of background fun for sure.
I kept noting it was really beautiful. So we start in LA, then we're in the
Yes.
desert. There's a police chase in the desert. Then we're at the Hoover Dam.
Mhm.
Then we're in Texas for a while. Then we're in New Orleans. We see, like this boat ride through, and it's very swampy. It's like very New Orleans, very like Louisiana-esque.
Yes, yes.
And they actually, those places, yeah, to your point about them, they are characters in and of themselves. It's like, oh, obviously that's Vegas. Oh, obviously that's the desert.
Yes.
We can see their progression of where they are very clearly the French Quarter in New Orleans. And they actually shot there, which I appreciate. They don't do, it seems like they don't do that kind of thing anymore. But in 1993, they actually went to all of those locations and shot there specifically.
That's super cool. I love that. It makes it so much more fun. And can you imagine when you really pinpoint all those places on a map, like how long this road trip was?
Mhm.
Can you imagine? It's wild.
Did you grow up with cassette tapes, Lizzie, or not?
Yes, definitely.
I took note of the cassette tape that he keeps. There's one cassette that he must be his jam,
Yeah.
and he keeps taking it out and putting it, like he takes it with him, and then he's like really upset one time when it like the tape comes out and he uses
Yes.
his pinky.
Yes.
Uses his
Oh
pinky.
my gosh, I remember that well.
Do you? I thought maybe you were too young for that.
No, I remember when CDs first came out and they were like a big deal. Like it was like this whole new thing. And then because I had a Walkman for a while, which of course was the tapes, and then you move on to the CD players. But I remember tapes. Well, ironically, the way that I remember tapes more than anything were books on tape. That was like the big thing where this might have just been like a Midwestern thing, but you're familiar with Cracker Barrel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be like a huge thing that my family would do. We would go to Cracker Barrel, and they might still have them. I've been to one within the last few years where they still have those big stores in the
They
front.
do?
Yes, where it's like toys, candy. I mean, we take our kids probably like once every 6 months. We'll take one. There's like one like 20 minutes away from us. But it is like maddening. Like you literally have to be like, okay, when we walk in the store, we're not touching anything. But anyway, we would, as kids, they'd have a huge selection of books on tape. And that was a huge thing when we'd go out because we were a road trip family. So we would have several books on tape and then listen to them in the car as we drove.
Oh, I love that. That's a great family activity.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember listening, like, I don't know if it was the Sunday, Casey Kasem's, where you could write letters in. What was that called?
Like his top, he was like I always remember him as he had his radio station. It was like his top, the top hits of the time. Yeah. And then I know he had kind of like didn't he have a Dear Abby adjacent show?
It was like in that show, like between songs, like he would, and it was always like these long, very like heartfult.
Yes.
He's like, and this one's for you, Johnny. But whatever. Yeah, Casey.
Talk about a notable voice. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, because I remember, my first introduction to him was Shaggy, but then
Scooby-Doo.
remembering like later that my mom would listen to him on the radio and just like falling in love with how interesting his voice was.
Extremely. He may be one of the, he's probably in the top 10 or 20 of most recognizable voices. Agreed.
Oh my gosh, that's such a blast from the past. I love it.
Right? I wondered, it makes sense after I watched the movie, but going into it, I was like, why is fatherhood 2 words?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
I have no idea. I tried, my first initial guess was just this idea of, you thinking of this idea of he's like from maybe the wrong side of the tracks if they're trying to, because that was kind of more slang in the 90s of saying we're in the hood.
Mm.
But I think potentially there's that. I know that it's potentially jargon with cars, and I was like, why is it exactly? But I never quite put my finger on it.
No, you're exactly right. It's a play on words. the paternal phrase fatherhood, father, and then hood, being referring to like criminal, gangster, mobster of some sort, represented by Jack. So he's a father, but he's a hoodlum also.
Yes. That's what I imagined as much, because that was a big word in the 90s of that was like the way that you describe like certain like neighborhoods as being like the hood.
It's in the hood. Yeah, that's again, very 90s, very 90s. So yeah, that's why fatherhood is 2 words, everyone. I have not seen this movie either, but the next year in 1994, a very similar movie was released. It's called Getting Even with Dad with Ted Danson and Macaulay Culkin. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
That tends to happen in Hollywood quite a bit, but they both revolve around kind of either a crook or a deadbeat dad where the mother has passed away, and then the kids are like left in his care. So back-to-back years.
Nice. When I think of a movie that did this but did it perfectly, I think of Big Daddy. That's the movie that really like rings so true to me with Adam Sandler.
Yes, good point.
And in my mind, because I see a lot of parallels because it's like the deadbeat guy. He's he every single time that he wets the bed, he just puts newspaper on, and he's just like a huge just like burnout. And it's of course there's twists and turns and things like that, but then his love interest is the lawyer that's involved in all of it. So there's kind of a lot of different parallels. It feels kind of like fatherhood crawled so that Big Daddy could run. It's in my mind.
I like that. And Big Daddy is good. Yeah, a better executed version.
Yes, because that one's really, really heartwarming. But yet he's not a criminal, but he's also not a good guy. Like
he doesn't have his life together.
No, like I'll never forget. It was like one of the funniest things I had seen at that point when it came out was he gets excited because he's never been up and awake before 11 a.m. And he's like, we have to go to McDonald's. And he just has a complete meltdown in the middle of McDonald's.
They're like, our breakfast ends at 10:30, sir. Since when?
So that's a great, great movie. I think that does kind of have a similar formula.
Can you wipe your own ass? Is that?
I wipe my own ass. I wipe my own ass. Oh my God. It's different as well after having kids. Oh my gosh.
I'm not a car person, but I did note his car was very particular in this movie. I didn't know what it was, but so the car that Jack Charles drives, like for the most part of the movie, there's other cars, they steal cars and stuff. It was a 1972 Cadillac Fleetwood Eldorado convertible.
Wow. That's
yeah. Yeah. So if there are any car people out there, is that a big deal? I don't know.
I think anything Cadillac, especially, I think now, like in 2024, I don't think hold, at least I personally don't feel like they hold the same amount of clout. But there was a time where Cadillac was like you would even say, this is the Cadillac of, you'd be like, say like a filet mignon is like the Cadillac of steaks or like something like that. You would always kind of, I'm a foodie. So as you can see, all roads lead back to food when I'm trying to make an analogy. But that was a really common phrase, I think, for a while. So I would imagine at that point, a Cadillac was a huge deal.
Exactly. And especially among gangsters.
Yes.
And so he's like a wannabe, like a certain culture. Because then later, like in the 2000s, like the Escalade became like a big car in like rap music and stuff, Yeah.
50 Cent, I remember, had, because there was like a point in time where you like immerse yourself in and knowing all the different kind of like anecdotes about people. And I remember watching some clip of 50 Cent, and he had across his entire chest like the Cadillac emblem. And he did it because in his mind, like Cadillac was like the epitome of luxury. And so I definitely think there was a time where Cadillac was like the top of the top. And you don't really see them anymore. Actually, now that I'm thinking it through, they're rare.
I dated a guy briefly who was a car salesman for a Cadillac dealership, and he drove this Cadillac. I don't even know what kind it was. And I very much hurt his feelings because whatever it was, I thought it was super ugly. I don't think they're attractive. I think Escalades are fine, but just their sedan or whatever, I think they're ugly. And so maybe they used to have a better body style back in the day than they do.
I'm not a car person. Admittedly, I don't dislike cars, but I've never been somebody that gets excited about a car. So unfortunately for me, it usually, unless I'm noticing it because it's just that crazy looking, I'm never going to notice a car and have it stand out.
I noted. I think I'm a couple levels beyond your recognition, but I'm definitely not a car person. But yeah, I think Cadillacs now are kind of synonymous with older people.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree. Kind of like the baby boomer beyond, kind of even more so. Because my mom drove a Cadillac when I was in high school. But my mom's the kind of person, well, she'll drive a car until it quite literally dies on her. So she had it for a while. But then she didn't go back. But yeah, I agree. Because there was a time where it was, you see people like my granddaddy driving a Cadillac. And I think that's they've kind of earned that reputation now, being like retirees.
Yep. I thought this was a very interesting bit of trivia. While this production had part of a freeway closed for filming, the band REM took advantage of that and filmed some of their video for Everybody Hurts there. So they just piggybacked on, this highway's closed. And
that's kind of cool.
Must have been, I can't picture that video, but that desert landscape probably.
Which makes sense, I've never seen the music. I know the song. I know exactly the song that they're talking about, but I've never watched the music video. I'll have to watch that now.
Me too. Okay, another bit of trivia about casting. I love this. It's my favorite part of trivia every time. Do you have any guesses for who else was considered for the role of Jack Charles?
Ooh. Let me think about this. I feel like I'm biased based on your previous actor, but in my mind, I feel like they maybe wanted someone like a Kurt Russell. But I think let me try to think of who was really popular during the times. Oh man, I could see like a Ray Liotta maybe in that role potentially.
I could see that. That's not who it was.
Yes,
but I could see that. You were spot effing on, Lizzie. It's Kurt Russell.
I love it so much.
And that could not be more perfect, furthering my point for my entire first season, because they are the ultimate everymen. Patrick Swayze, really Kurt Russell.
They're so interchangeable in that way.
And similar.
Talented, but yes.
Similar, guys. They look similar. They go up for the same roles. They're the same part. They're both. I about died when I read that. Kurt Russell. So yeah.
So vindicating.
Oh, and like you said at the beginning, I literally 90 minutes of Patrick Swayze, I will take it in any form. I do always enjoy spending an hour and a half with our beloved Patrick Swayze, but we must now return to the present day reality. Until next time, Lizzie, thank you so much for joining me to relive a little bit of 1993 and this fun little escape with Patrick. Do you have any final thoughts about the movie Fatherhood? And then please don't forget to tell us where we can find you and your podcast.
Yes. Thanks so much for having me. This is so much fun. I mean, I'll just reiterate what I said before. I think the movie definitely could have used like a fine tuning, but I think ultimately I'm just never going to be angry about getting to watch Patrick Swayze. It's just never something I'm going to be mad at. I find he is one of those actors that his own just light shines through whatever role he's playing and just allows you to connect. So regardless of how good or bad the script is, I just feel like you're going to have a good time watching Patrick Swayze be Patrick Swayze. And so I think I appreciate that I got to get introduced to this movie. You can find me at Retro Movie Roundtable. We are a similar concept. We are a movie podcast. We love all movies. Our only criteria for movies that we review has to be at least 10 years old, but we've done movies going all the way back to the 30s. And then now approaching 2025, we're just now starting to break into movies from 2015. And you can find us anywhere podcasts are available.
It's fun. I love it. Retro Movie Roundtable. You guys should check it out. Lizzie, I might be biased, but she's one of my favorite hosts on the show.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening or watching on YouTube. If you like the show, tell a friend or 10. Until next time, be kind, rewind.